Hello, and thank you for joining me for our third video in our library series for School of Social Work students. In this part, we're going to be talking about getting articles, books, and more. In the last video, we talked about developing search strategies and using search tips and tricks like Boolean operators or search punctuation. Today, we're going to basically take those tips and tricks and figure out how to search library catalogs or the library databases to find what we need, whether that be journal articles, books, or other materials. So as a reminder, you can always reach me through the book and appointment link on my library calendar if you need an appointment to do a deeper dive into your projects or papers. You can also always email me. And let's talk about some learning goals. So after this video, you're going to be able to find library resources and obtain them. So download them or read them in a browser or go to the library and actually get a physical book if that's what you need. And you'll also be able to locate where things are across the library catalog and the library databases. So what do we mean by library databases and the library catalog? So these are two different things. The library catalog is all of the things that the library owns. So this is both the physical books that are in the library stacks in library buildings, but it's also digital copies of things. So ebooks, videos, audio recordings, digitized resources, all of those things that the library owns. It also contains some licensed material, and the licensed material is primarily provided by our library databases. So our library databases are kind of like Netflix subscriptions. We subscribe to these databases, and they in turn provide resources to us through different platforms. And usually the library databases are organized by a specific type of resource or a specific subject. So if you've ever searched something like PsycInfo, that's a library database. It contains only materials that have to do with psychology, behavioral health, and related topics. Another example would be something like Access World News, which is a huge newspaper database. So these are either, related to by subject or kind of related to by resource type. So the library catalog has some of those resources, but not all of them. So my advice is always to combine your search in the library catalog with at least a search in one subject-specific library database. And the way that you do searching, we'll start with the library catalog. So the library catalog is searched by QuickSearch, which is this big search bar that's right up at the beginning of, or right up at the top of your screen. Basically, anywhere you go on the library website, it'll be there. You can see here it is on the New Brunswick page. And let's go ahead and do a search, and we can talk a little bit about how to find different things in the library catalog to start. So let's pretend we're doing a project or paper on depression in elderly women. We're going to use our search tips and tricks. So the first one we'll use is our asterisk, right? Because if we're searching for depression, we also want to maybe look for things like depressed or depressive. So we can put our asterisk. Then we'll use our Boolean operators. Again, we'll put an asterisk to signify that we can search for both the singular and plural of women. And then we'll do elderly with an asterisk again to search for different endings. Let's see what we find. I'm not seeing a ton that looks super applicable. What we can do though is we can change this to only search the title. Aha, this gets much more accurate. So since we only search the title for our keywords, we're seeing things that relate very closely to what we're interested in. And this article looks interesting. Yeah, all of them look great. So you can see we've got some books here. We've got articles here. I'm sure if we scrolled down, we would see even more types of resources, right? So this is a nice sampling of all of the different types of resources that are available. Over here on the side, we see some filters. These work a lot like online shopping. They allow you to distill your results down even further. So for example, if your professor only wants you to use journal articles, you can click on the article button, and then maybe also click on peer-reviewed journals to make sure you're only getting things that are peer-reviewed. Again, peer review is kind of the standard for scholarly journal articles. It means that before that article was published, it was reviewed by the author's peers, in that case, other experts in that field. Perhaps you want to only look at the most recent research. You could refine your creation date. You could even refine to make sure that you're only looking at languages that are only looking at articles that are in English, etc. But let's take a look at the different types of sources that we're seeing. So for example, we're seeing articles, right? Journal articles. So here's one that looks really interesting, the gender difference in depression. I'm going to click on that. And right here below, we see this view online link, and then we also see all of the places where this article is available to us online, right? So I'm just going to click on PubMed Central, just one of the options here. All right, and so what we see here isn't the full article, right? We only see the abstract, right? We see the abstract, which is kind of like the summary or the highlights of the article, but we don't see the whole thing. This happens sometimes where when you access the article, it's not always immediately clear where to actually go to find the full text. So look for the words full text or PDF or full download. All of those can be signals that that's where to go to get the full text. In our case, we have these buttons on the side that say full text. Click on one of those. And then we see view full text, download PDF. So we can download the PDF. I'm not going to do that, but you could do that. You can click view full text. And then we can see the whole thing in our browser. So all of those are different options, right? So sometimes you have to jump through some hoops to get to the full text, but if we have access to it through the library, the full text will be available. You just might have to go on a little bit of a scavenger hunt to find it. Let's look at another example just to show you kind of what I'm talking about. Exercise-induced normalization of something. I'm not super well versed in this topic, but let's click on this article. And again, we see, it's got some different options for where we can view it online. I'll click on the first one. Great. So this one has the abstract up top again, but then we see down below it's got the full text. You could also download it though in a PDF. If that is rather what you'd rather do is have it downloaded, and then you can send it to your phone or a reading app. Make it so that you can get it on the go as well. So those are journal articles. Again, making sure you know how to find the full text, even if it's a little hidden. Let's look at a book. So our first result was a book here, the Depression Source Book. And this is a physical book in the library, right? So there are a couple different ways to go about finding this book. You can see the numbers where it is located, as well as the library where it's located. So we see there's one in Robeson and one in the Smith Library. So you could actually go and, write this call number down and take it to the reference desk at Robeson or Smith and say, hi, can I have some help finding this book? And they would help you locate it if you're unfamiliar with reference or with call numbers, excuse me. But a lot of you are online students, so it might not be possible for you to come to a library and actually pick up a book. There are a couple of different options in this case. One is to request that the item be mailed to you. The way you do that is press request item here, and then you can actually designate a pickup location. So let's just say that you live in, let's just say that you are a student and you find a book that you really need and it's in Alexander Library, but you live in Camden. You can actually designate one of the Camden libraries for pickup, which is really helpful. And it looks like this one doesn't have the option to deliver to your house, I think because you can't check it out of the library. But most often there's also an option here. We'll find another book with that example to be able to deliver it to your house as well. So if you live far, far away, you can also request that it be mailed to you. If you need just a couple of pages or like a chapter, you can also request digitization. So this is where the folks who work in our scanning and digitization services will actually scan that part of the book for you. This is not sustainable for requesting a full book. You cannot request a full book be scanned, both because it's kind of a drain on resources, but also because of copyright issues. But if you just need a couple of pages or you need a chapter, that is definitely a reason to use the digitization request. All right, so that's a book in the library. Let's look at a couple of different books. So let's see. Okay, so these other two are encyclopedias that came up, and we can see these books are actually online. So very similarly to our journal articles, we can actually click on these books, log in, and then we get the full text here. So this is an encyclopedia. So again, it tells you the contents and then it gives you all of the entries. So this would be the full book right here. Let's do a more general search just so I can show you a book where you can get it mailed to your house. Here we go. So this is a book that's located in the Library of Science and Medicine. Let's click request item. Yep, so now here at the bottom we see personal delivery, home address. Then just put your address here and then hit send request and it'll be mailed to you. They'll reach out to you beforehand to let you know if they have any questions, and then when it's mailed, you'll get an email. So that's super helpful as well. So that is finding resources both in the library and online. Let's go ahead and move to finding articles in the databases. So we just looked at QuickSearch, which again is the library catalog search along with some of the licensed materials. So we saw all those journal articles. Those are most likely licensed materials. But again, we usually want to combine that search with at least one other search in a library database. So to see our full list of databases, we're going to click Find a Database here. Make sure I'm on track here. Okay, yes. All right. And what we want to do is, this list is really long. I'm still scrolling. I'm only in the B section of this huge list. It's hundreds of databases. So to make it a little less overwhelming for ourselves, we can actually narrow it down by the databases on different subjects. So for students in social work, you're probably going to want to look at the social work subject. You can click apply there. And then up here at the top, there's always going to be these really nice kind of suggestions about where to start your search, the best bets for getting going with a search in a database. So today I'll show you Social Science Premium, which is our first one on the list here. If anyone's used a ProQuest database, this will probably look very familiar to you. I always say to folks that it can be overwhelming when you go from one kind of search interface to another, right? So we went from the library catalog, which looked very different than this, but it's a nice reminder that every single search bar will behave in very similar ways. So regardless of what everything looks like, you've always got the same kind of tools in your arsenal that you can use, right? So we can use those same search techniques that we used in the library database to search here. So for instance, just do a quick search here. Oops, I spelled elderly wrong. Let's try that. There we go. So now we're getting our search here, and you can see that, this looks very similar. You've got your scholarly journal articles, you've got the different titles, you've got a little description. I really like ProQuest just because they also have really nice filters. So again, you can filter by date, you can look at the different types. Again, we can limit to peer review. Language, all of those can be really helpful. So Social Science Premium is definitely a great place to start. And again, using your search tips and tricks is a great way to kind of get more specific searches when you're looking in your library databases. But again, there are so many more. So, that was ProQuest Social Science Premium. There are also many others. Just to show you real quick, you can also sort by resource type. So, instead of looking at a subject, for instance, if you only want newspaper sources, you can filter by newspaper sources and then look at the newspapers. Access World News is excellent. Another database of newspaper sources that I really enjoy is Factiva. All of those are really excellent. Again, if you only want video and audio sources, you can look only for those. So sorting by resource type can also be really helpful as well. Another quick thing I want to show you about library databases is how to get Google Scholar access, how to get library access through your Google Scholar. So Google Scholar is a really awesome tool for finding journal articles and scholarly sources, but you often will hit like a paywall, right? Where you click on an article that looks interesting and then it comes up as as not having the full text, and it'll say, pay us a huge amount of money to have access to this article, right? So we can avoid that by telling Google Scholar that we have access to these resources through Rutgers Libraries. So I'm here at my Google Scholar page, and I'm just going to click on my settings. And I'm going to click on library links here. Now, instead of, obviously can't search for Rutgers because it's already accessed. So if I search it, it won't come up. But what you would do is search for Rutgers, and then you would click on it, and then you would click Save. So again, just a super simple search there. But you can see now on the side here, we have these Get It at R buttons. And this basically allows Google Scholar to reroute you through Rutgers Library to get the free version of the article. So let's try one of those. So we see it pulls us to Rutgers Libraries, and then it routes us right to the source, which is really awesome. So that can be really helpful and allows us to not get those pesky paywalls as well. Okay, one last thing I want to show you just before we complete this video is how to find resources that aren't included in any of our databases or in a library catalog. So sometimes this happens where, we don't have a book or we don't have access to a journal article. That doesn't mean that we can't get it for you. So for instance, we have many different ways of borrowing from other libraries or getting digital copies of things from other libraries. So right here under Rutgers New Brunswick page, we can click on Borrow from Other Libraries, and we see all of these different ways to search for different resources that might not be available to us. So Easy Borrow and UBorrow are both academic library consortiums that share books between each other. So they're really great for books. But if you need a journal article that you can't find, you can use Iliad to request it. Iliad basically allows you to request an article. You can even just type the DOI, which is the kind of like the URL for the article, right in there, and it'll auto-populate everything. And then you get a digital scan back, usually very, very quickly. You can also do this if you can't find books that you need in Easy Borrow or UBorrow as well. So Iliad is also really, really useful and can be another way to make sure that you're never paying for things like scholarly journal articles. Okay, so that's all I have for this this video on getting your articles, books, and more. Hopefully this was helpful to you as you continue to do research and scholarship in the School of Social Work. Again, please reach out to me if you have any questions and check out the rest of the videos in this series. Hopefully they're helpful. Thank you.